on our mattresses, and it's so vital we have the right one and we don't break the bank to do that. I first bought a mattress from the big store the brothers used to own and a power base that moved the head and feet, and then I met John and I checked out his showroom at 50 Main Street in Ashland and online at boxdropmiddlesex.com and ended up with a better mattress, a power base that also heats and massages, all for less than half of what I was going to spend at the other place. Boxdrop is a discount mattress store, and John specializes in clearance and closeouts, and he buys directly from the manufacturer with low overhead and just family employees passing the savings on to you, and you can see it reflected in the price every day. Click boxdropmiddlesex.com or call John on his cell. This is his cell number, 508-579-9303. That's 508-579-9303. And you can find John on Facebook at Boxdrop Middlesex. John loves referrals, and this is the best referral I've given so far this year. Dropboxmiddlesex.com.
The following is a paid program. The opinions are those of the host and guests and not necessarily those of the station or its management.
You are about to undertake a 2-hour experience of eye-opening, mind-expanding, revealing common sense discussion for the common sense citizen. Strap yourself in, put your trays in the upright position, remove dentures and loose jewelry, get comfortable, take a deep breath, and come along for the ride. It is time for the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN 830, and our affiliates, and streaming on the TuneIn app. It's Joe time, baby.
All right, folks, good morning and welcome to the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here from the Boxdrop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. And, of course, we have our text line, which is up and running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388, or email textjoeintheradio@gmail.com. We're live streaming on the TuneIn app, so you can take us anywhere on any device. Just punch WCRN in, and you are good to go. Tell Alexa to play WCRN. She'll do that, no questions asked. We're also live streaming on a couple of platforms from the camera in the studio. You've got the audio there, so you can go to our Facebook page. All of our social media is at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. So Twitter, you can watch it there. Facebook, you can watch it there. Our YouTube channel, the Joe Mangiacotti Show. My LinkedIn page, Joe Mangiacotti, or even Twitch TV under the same thing, Joe M Show. All right, folks, that takes care of some of the housekeeping. If you want to reach the show off air, you can do that at joemshow@gmail.com. All right. Good morning, Matt. You can turn your mic on. You on? Okay. I can't hear you, though. Are you potted up or the mic in the right location?
Yes.
There you go. All right. There you go.
Technicals.
So you're going to fly the board this morning?
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
It's gonna be quite fun.
All right. Looking forward to it. All right. So, all right, lines open and available. Mike Wade joins us at 7 o'clock for Conservatively Speaking till 9 o'clock. Peter Blute takes us from 9 until noon with the Peter Blute Show. Obviously, folks, we're watching just the incredible storms and tornadoes that rip through the Midwest, Kentucky, in Arizona. It's horrible. At least 100 people are feared dead in Kentucky after the tornadoes. A 200-mile path through the Midwest and South. It demolished homes, leveling businesses, and now it's a complete search and rescue. The powerful twisters, forecasters say, are unusual in cooler months. So it really wasn't expected to have this kind of power and devastation. One of the things wrecked was the candle factory, and the fire and police stations in a small town in Kentucky ripped through a nursing home in Missouri, killed at least 6 workers at the Amazon warehouse in Illinois. And what's interesting there, and I guess for lack of a better term, I say interesting, is that yesterday was also another Blue Horizon launch. This is the one that Michael Strahan, the former NFL and turned morning host, odd transition. But anyway, Jeff Bezos, he came under some criticism yesterday for cheering on the latest group of space tourists. Well, he made no mention, none, of at least 6 workers in an Amazon warehouse dead because of the roof collapse. Where's the disconnect in that, folks? You're Jeff Bezos. Amazon's your thing. You have workers die in your building while working on the clock for you. And you're cheerleading a publicity stunt into the, I get it. I'm a huge supporter of space exploration and travel and the whole thing. Not saying anything against it. But dude, you need to acknowledge the fact that you lost workers on your payroll in your building in this horrific incident. Nothing. So the Amazon founder greeted Michael Strahan and the other 5 members of the latest crew, New Shepard. That's the rocket. 10-minute flight, landed in West Texas. Yeah, said, welcome back, guys, as he opened the capsule door. But had this platform in the news and everybody and the cameras rolling, and he says nothing. Prior to the flight, he posted a photo on Instagram of himself with the space flight crew in the comment, happy crew this morning in a training center, but made no mention of the social media site or the tragedy of the Amazon warehouse in Illinois. You know, and of course the comments rolled in, right? You should be a little concerned about your dead employees. I don't know. The cost I know is ridiculous. But I'm wondering at that point, after this rip through Friday night, if he should have scrubbed the flight Saturday. Said maybe we shouldn't do this right now. Maybe all of our attention in the Amazon family should be in Illinois. That's me. But then again, I don't know how many millions of dollars it costs to do this flight, but still. Or at least acknowledge it, guy. You know, what the heck? All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. That's how you get into the discussion here. Open lines until 7 o'clock when Mike Wade joins us. You know, remember the Oxford school situation, and we had all that going on, and it was. I mean, they had, you know, the guy was arrested, right? The rape in the bathroom. We covered all of this, and now, actually, I think I'm saying Oxford. We have 4 people. Actually, Oxford. I'm sorry, I misspoke. The Oxford situation. Oxford school is it's amazing, right? There's so many schools in the headline that they're tragedies. You got to keep them straight here. All right, so Oxford is the shooting, the school shooting. Michigan high school students injured in a deadly mass shooting are accusing the district of destroying, because it's the Oxford school district, and this is where I'm getting the confusion. The high school, Michigan high school student in the Oxford school system. This is where 4 people were killed last month, 7 injured, and this is Ethan Crumbley. He's the 15-year-old sophomore. Remember, the parents were called in to have a meeting with the kid because of disturbing behavior. You had the scrolling for ammunition while in class. You had the sketches and drawings that were fine. I mean, it was just, hello, red flag everywhere you look. And they have this meeting, and they said, all right, you know, you should go. He didn't want to leave the school. They did nothing. They didn't search the a backpack, right? Nothing. They let this kid go back to class in the school. A couple hours later, takes his backpack. He goes in the bathroom. He comes out shooting, killing these 4. Right? We had. I talked about the football kid. Right? I mean, he was throwing his body in the way to save other students. Anyway, they're facing $100 million lawsuit from a student who was shot in the neck, and her sister, who witnessed the attack. But now they're being accused of destroying evidence. This is what's going on in the justice system, where people think that they can do this. But then you say, well, wait a minute. We watched a former First Lady, Secretary of State, and Senator and presidential candidate destroy evidence, destroy emails and equipment, the devices. Remember bleach bite and then sledgehammers? No consequences. Blatantly destroyed evidence. So why shouldn't everyone think that destroying evidence is not a problem? Right? We watched it happen with no consequences. So now it seems that the school district, who is already an entitled bunch of people living in this academic bubble that they think is just beyond question, right? You're not allowed to question them. They know what's best for you in every way and what's best for your children. As one former governor told us, that you parents aren't the primary factor in your children's education. So now they feel that destroying evidence is just par for the course. This is just something that we do because we're not going to take any blame or responsibility for all these poor policies and for dropping the ball here. So the lawsuit was filed Thursday and alleges that the school failed to protect the students from a peer who was deranged and homicidal. Now, the judge here, U.S. District Judge Terrence Berg, has ordered the school to keep all evidence related to the case. That is par for the course, a preservation order. A preservation order is something that you issue as whenever an investigation comes in. It's a matter, of course, if you're going to investigate a theft or robbery and there are ATM cameras or store surveillance cameras, you notify these places of a preservation order to keep that stuff. So if it normally would have been erased or taped over, and as a matter of course, no, you need to preserve this evidence. It's the same thing here. The judge is saying, all right, preserve all evidence. Nothing is to be destroyed. We need to put the situation back together based on everything. Records, notes, files, phone calls, texts, emails, save everything. And they've decided the best thing to do is just get rid of everything. So it doesn't work like this, folks. Doesn't work like this at all. Attorney Nora Hanna wrote in the Friday's filing, not only did defendants fail to take necessary steps to preserve the evidence, but they willfully destructed the evidence by deleting the web pages and social media accounts. Plaintiffs cannot continue to be blindsided by the defendants by having to search for what evidence is being destroyed or altered. Exactly. It's upon them, it's their responsibility to preserve these things, but see, they're not just preserving them, they're actually actively destroying them, deleting the accounts. And as we know, social media often holds the blueprint to a lot of things. You see the progression of conversations and even the fever of what's happening. But when you have this climate, and like I said, I mean, we had people in the highest positions. Not only did Hillary destroy evidence with no consequence, FBI did the same thing. How often do we hear in the story about key information magically disappearing or being lost in evidence lockers and things of that nature? So this is happening in the Oxford School District. They're destroying, not just not preserving, but destroying the evidence that's crucial in this lawsuit, a $100 million lawsuit. But when you look back at it, there was some serious neglect and mistakes were made here. And it's funny in this stuff, right? When after things happen, it used to be, and comedians would make, right? Oh, this guy went crazy and he shot up a store, a theater, whatever. And it used to be, who would have known he was such a nice guy? He was quiet. He was a great neighbor. He kept to himself. He wasn't, Now when this stuff is happening, that's not the case. Everybody goes, yeah, well, that figures. He was a nut job. You should see his posts. You should see the pictures he's posted, the stuff that he said, the stuff he wrote. So we are seeing the signs and the warnings are there nowadays, and we're not taking any action. We go back to the Parkland school. I mean, that was a situation where this kid had a history of incidences, but because of the Barack Obama's justice system, they didn't want the records to be screwed up and the federal money coming in, so they in-house, right? And we saw this in Virginia, a 14-year-old girl raped in the bathroom at school. The father said, don't go to the police. We're going to take care of this in-house. And that's the guy who was at the meeting that when the school board member turns to, because one of the school board members, she was absolutely blindsided by this. She looked around that board and said, did this happen? Have we had assaults in our bathrooms? Was there a rape? Totally clueless. And the guy that told the father not to go to the police, we're going to handle this inside in-house, looks at her and says, no, nothing. That's why the guy went off his rocker. That's why he was yelling at the guy for lying and covering up his daughter's rape, and the police wrestled him to the ground. And that's the clip that we saw circulated in social media. And they lie to us about the context of it, that this guy was a nut job on CRT and so forth. No mention of the assault on his daughter. None. I'm telling you, the school system and education system as we've known it is going through a metamorphosis. It is a huge change here. I think part of this is the unintended consequences of the remote learning. They didn't think that through, that they were going to have students in the same room with mom and dad. They didn't piece that together till it was too late. And parents all of a sudden were seeing and hearing what's being taught to their children. And they said, uh-oh, what's this about? Is this what they tell you every day? And what is it that they're telling them? That by the virtue of being born white, you're an oppressor. And if you're black or brown, you're a victim. You're oppressed automatically. And that if you're white, you need to be paying for the sins of your fathers, that kind of thing, part of CRT. And parents are like, this is not what we signed up for. Meanwhile, our students are falling behind in math and science, history. They're not even teaching the civics, right? The Constitution, the founding fathers, because why? They were all white oppressors. So the parents, this unintended consequence was parents got a peek into what was going on at school, look behind the curtain. They started taking notice. I've said this before, folks. When was the last time prior, say, pre-pandemic world, life, how many parents would arbitrarily say to their spouse, honey, you think I'll take Thursday off and go audit our kids' class all day? Nobody does that. Nobody did that. You might have the student parent conference thing, that's in the evening and it's all sanitized for the parents, that kind of thing. And now we have people realizing that these offices, and I'm talking about elected offices, and I'm pointing out, right, school committee and city council and town committees and things of that nature, we need to pay more attention to. We go back to, right? Politics are local. Tip O'Neill said this, politics are local, politics are local. And you have to pay attention to the people who are filling these spots because they are affecting your life and your child's life on a daily basis in a very big way. And now we're seeing a lot of people running for school committees We have seen school committee members get ousted or resigned because of the pressure. Good. And then we had this whole school board, right? National Association of School Boards. Turns out that this letter that they wrote to the White House in conjunction with the White House, right? We find all this out afterwards, that they worked with the White House to put it together, and they shipped it off. But the membership as a whole didn't have anything to do with it. And at last count, I think it was 11 states withdrew from the association. And it was so ridiculous that they retracted the letter. Now, the letter goes to the White House, and immediately Merrick Garland's on it, and he's directing the FBI to develop a task force to investigate parents and tag them. A system used or reserved for tagging and monitoring terrorists and domestic terrorists, foreign terrorists, drug cartels, that kind of thing, that they're equating now parents, concerned parents with. So the school board association, Mangiacotti, they retract the letter and apologize. This was kind of a rogue thing, and the language we used was not really a good, which again, by the way, you got the school board association using poor language. The people who are responsible for teaching language skills to our kids aren't that great at using the correct language. They use very inflammatory and incorrect language. So they withdraw the letter, but Merrick Garland doesn't cancel the memo or the instructions. So where is the education system going to go? I think, and this was a big issue before the pandemic, and this is leaning into this direction of school choice in charter schools. I think this is where it's headed. And I think the money should follow the child, the student. And maybe remote learning in the sense of having modules of classrooms in neighborhoods, because the other side of this, you're disrupting a family. If the families are, here's the deal, okay? We pay our taxes and we fund the school system. Our children go to school during the day. Mom and dad work to be able to pay the taxes and live in that town, et cetera. You know how it goes. So now if you're saying we got to be at home because the kids are, no, maybe we have modules scattered around neighborhoods where the students can go, and it's still remote learning in the sense that the lessons coming from one teacher who can do hundreds of locations, and then we have teacher assistants or we can determine a label for these people in these modular classrooms around. I don't know. I mean, it's just spitballing it here. But there's got to be a change. And although school systems have always altered and tailored the curriculum to the area that they're in, I get that. But the basics have got to be there. The math and the science and the history, the real history. The 1619 Project isn't a history book. It's a thesis. It was never meant to be an educational tool. The author admitted so much and clarified that multiple times. But the American history as it was should be taught, as well as all history, accurately. And that includes from all points of view. Yeah, I'll give you that. Native American point of view wasn't really in the curriculum for forever until recently, and that needs to be. From the landing at Plymouth Rock on, it has to be accurate from all sides in what was really going on, but it needs to be taught. And civics needs to be taught. Remember the Schoolhouse Rock? I'm just a Bill and stuff like that. That you take these have these conversations with young people. No offense, Matt. Can you break down the how a bill becomes a law? Did they teach that to you in school?
They taught me it.
Okay.
But did I remember it?
Well, that's on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I can say that my school system did teach, but also I came from a very more. I wouldn't.
What state was it again? Maryland.
I was in Virginia.
Virginia.
Yeah, I was.
Which is very Washington-ish.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of DC.
I came right outside of Washington D.C. I came from Arlington, so
okay, Arlington, Virginia.
There was a lot of Washington influence from there, so there's a lot of history.
Yeah.
Around that area, but at the same time, it's like, oh, I'll get to that at some point. So I was one of the kids who was not that interested in the history. But
what about nowadays?
Nowadays,
when
I'm
you're a little more
when I'm looking back, I'm like, goodness, I didn't go there. I didn't go there. What am I missing?
Right, exactly. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break here at 1:30, and that wraps up the first segment of the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Back in a moment.
This is Sean Burke, president of the Licensed Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts, asking you to visit us at lpdam.org when you think you need a private investigator. Don't let your emotions negatively affect your future. Get your answers through a Massachusetts licensed private investigator. Get the facts without risking your credibility by unknowingly committing a criminal offense. You need a license to perform investigations in Massachusetts. What are some types of work that requires a license? Any type of surveillance, interviewing someone for a third party, background and asset checks are just a few examples. For more on this, visit us at lpdm.org and tune into AM 830 WCRN Sunday mornings at 7:30 for case files from the LPDM or anytime at lpdmcasefiles.com.
I want to tell you what Cantiani Insurance has been able to do for me and Teddy. We stopped in to see Paul Sr. and the great staff at 318 Plantation Street. They've been handling my car and business insurance for years. Teddy was making his way around the office, and they let me know. They now offer pet insurance. For a fraction of what one visit to the vet was for Teddy, they could cover him for a whole year. I know you treat your furry family members like any other family member, and as well as I do Teddy. The professional staff at Cantiani has been providing courteous service for over 40 years with integrity and personalized service, making sure that your insurance actually protects you and your family. With 2 locations, the 318 Plantation Street in Worcester and East Douglas Insurance Agency, located at 306 Main Street in Douglas. For home, auto, business insurance, and now pet insurance, click CantianiAgency.com or call 508-791-2088. 508-791-2088.
We know why you're awake. Your child is about to get their driver's license. Levante's Auto School offers 1-week driving programs to help make sure your child stays safe and focused behind the wheel.
877 Drive Ed. Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
Learn to drive safely and efficiently. Visit one of our 5 locations throughout Massachusetts. Click Levante'sAutoSchool.com.
Levante's Auto School shows you how to learn the rules and keep your cool. 877 Drive Ed. Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
It's time to go out with Joe.
Welcome to this week's edition of Out with Joe, brought to you by Levante's Auto School with 5 locations. Click Levante's Auto School to find one near you. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. This week, the best recipes for Christmas appetizers to make ahead. That's right, Christmas is a time to eat, drink, and be merry. And the festive season sees family kitchens all over the world working overtime to create dishes after dish after dish of tempting seasonal delights. But while it can be fun to cook for the people you love, nobody wants to spend Christmas hiding in the kitchen. And make ahead and pre-prepared dishes can be an absolute godsend at this time of year. Appetizer recipes are often particularly well suited limited to making ahead. And because they're small and compact, they can be stored in the refrigerator without taking up all that valuable space. Many can also be used as canopies and finger food for parties and buffets. So you can make a big selection a few days earlier, bring them all out later for a completely stress-free party. If you're looking for some recipe inspiration, we've got you covered with 10 of the best make-ahead Christmas appetizers you can think of. This includes delicious little bites like roast pork and cranberry jelly Christmas canopy, baked stuffed mushrooms, canopy with salmon, crab meat, and caviar, lobster roll bites, olive puffs, brie and fig puffed pastry bites, cheddar and onion cheese ball, sweet corn fritters, and one of my favorite, fried deviled eggs, just to name a few. These recipes and more can be found on outwithjoe.com with the link over to finedininglovers.com, where they can also link you over to some great pre-made Italian flair recipes. So for more on this posting and the complete article, click outwithjoe.com. We have suspended the Music Minute for the time being. Please support your local musicians. We do. Follow us on our social media platforms at Out With Joe. Out With Joe has been brought to you by Levante's Auto School with 5 locations, one near you.
You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388, or email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. And now back to the most interesting man in the world. When he drives a car off a lot, the value goes up. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, welcome back to the second segment of the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. You can also text us. Our text line is running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388, or email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. It appears on the same screen. Real quick, I don't want this to get by without a comment. So Chris, I don't know what is going on at CNN. I hope this guy Malone, who threatened a few weeks ago to take it over and clean house there and bring it back to a news network, good. I hope he does this. But Chris Cuomo, CNN producer, well, he has some trouble. He's been charged with luring girls for sexual training, right? So this here we've got this veteran CNN producer, and he works shoulder to shoulder with now the disgraced anchor Chris Cuomo, who is having apparently we haven't seen the end of his issues. They keep being kind of leaked out here. But this guy has been indicted on charges of luring young girls to his Vermont ski house for sexual subservience training. Yeah. John Griffin. Now, he lives in Stamford, Connecticut. You know, Stamford, Connecticut, a lot of New York TV people, executives, millionaires, they have their Connecticut homes and so forth. And so that's not odd, but he has a ski house up in Vermont. So he used messaging apps to befriend and persuade moms of these young girls, telling them a woman is a woman regardless of her age, and that he should be the one to train their daughters sexually. What mother fell for this? What are you thinking, woman? This guy, Griffin, 44, allegedly got at least one mom of 2 daughters to bring the girls to his Ludlow ski getaway in June of 2020. 13 years old. 13 years old. It was mom's responsibility to see that her older daughter, just 13, was trained properly, Griffin told her. Now, he's a father himself, and he sent the woman $3,000 for plane tickets so they could fly from Nevada to Boston's Logan Airport, where he picked them up in his Tesla, of course, for the ride to Ludlow. This is all in the court documents. So CNN, they have issue upon issue upon issue. It's ridiculous. And one other thing before I get into inflation is we have a situation now where schools, public schools, are vaccinating children without their parents' consent and being told not to tell. I'm letting that sink in for a moment, folks. Because as far as I'm concerned, this is a red line you don't cross. You're messing with people's children now, and you're injecting something. I'm not going to debate. I don't care what it is. You are injecting something into a child without parental. Look, we have long held that children cannot consent. That's why we call it the age of consent. So they're luring these children into they're rewarding them with ice cream or whatever, and vaccinating them and getting them to promise not to tell mom and dad that they've done a medical procedure on their child.
Where is this happening?
This is a red line you do not cross. Let's start. Welcome into the conversation. Mike Wade's in a little early, so let him get behind the microphone. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Joe.
How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
You look a little Steve Jobs today. You had the black turtleneck and
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah. I don't know. You're looking better these days than when you retired, Mike.
I
It's
don't
like
know.
you're reverse aging here. What's going on?
I don't know. I really don't know. I can't tell you. Maybe I got that vaccine from that children get. I went back into my childhood. What towns or what states are doing that? Does it say?
Yeah. Let me get the whole story on this because I don't want to
Right.
Say something here. We'll go to routers here. No, that's off to. So this one that's coming, it's Los Angeles public schools to answer your question, but I want to see if I can find the actual school. So I mean, LA, color me surprised.
Right.
But this is just wrong. We have age of consent for a reason, Mike. Right?
Yeah.
That's what it's called, age of consent, and your child cannot consent to this. Plus, it is a parent's responsibility to decide. We've had court cases because of religious beliefs and so forth that children were denied life-saving operations, and the court has, upheld that it's the parent's decision to do that.
Right. Well, realistically, we got the age of consent, which, if I'm not mistaken, it's 18.
Yeah, and it does change on what the consent of, right? So in some states,
Yeah.
age of consent, say for sex, could be 16.
Right.
But we recognize 18 as being a legal adult for most everything, right?
And then at 18, the person can sign a legal contract. So realistically, things are legal. All right. But I mean, when are we going to stop this runaway government where they feel they can take care of us, our children, from cradle to grave, and they're going to tell them exactly what to think, what to do, and what medical procedures we're going to do on you? Isn't that what Enos Cantor Freedom is fighting against China? All right. And what about in the old Soviet Union? Okay. Are we going back to that? Is this what this Democratic Party is all about? We all know they are socialists. They're socialist, communists, Marxists, whatever you want to call them. When is it going to stop? When are people going to finally stand up and say, I've had enough. I've had enough. I don't really know if we can actually wait to the 22 elections with what's going on. I was going to go over. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall or listening in on Biden and Putin's conversation. I'm going over that a little later in the 7 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
But this is, I don't know, this is unheard of. How can you force somebody to take a vaccine and realistically you're bribing the child? And let's face it, if you can bribe the child with, I'm not sure what they're doing as far as the bribe is concerned. In other words, that shows you that child is not mature enough to make a decision. Yeah. Okay, if you can bribe them with ice cream or give them a $10 bill or $100 bill.
What else can you get them to do?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So here's some of the details, Mike, right? So here we go, folks. The Obama Global Prep Academy in Los Angeles Unified School District, it's LAUSDA, were apparently vaccinated against the coronavirus without the consent or knowledge of parents. Now, this is coming from a 13-year-old boy who was clandestinely vaccinated and he was telling the NBC Channel 4 out there, the lady that gave him the shot and signed the paper told my son, please don't say anything. I don't want to get in trouble. So the mother of this boy got wind of this, and according to her, her son was offered pizza in exchange for the shot.
Offered what?
Pizza.
Pizza.
So we're going to, hey, you get this delicious pizza, and we're just going to stick a needle in you, okay?
Right.
Oh, good pizza. Yeah. What 13-year-old boy? I mean, most 13-year-old boys would do about anything for pizza or an ice cream. This is ridiculous. The attorney, Jennifer Kennedy, who is fighting the school district's vaccine mandate in court, contends children cannot consent to receiving a vaccine, saying that the LAUSDA, again, that's the Barack Obama Global Prep Academy out there in LA, don't have that legal authority. No kidding. No kidding. These parents, I think, should just get together with a huge class action suit.
That's what I was just going to say. These parents, realistically, they did not give their permission for their child to get a shot. Realistically, if they're just vaccinating kids and the kids are doing it for pizza or whatever, all right, what happens if that child has a medical condition that they're not aware of? Okay. And a child dies because of the vaccine, because it wasn't taken into account his previous medical condition.
And again, and I've said this before, folks, check out the VAERS site, because that's the vaccination reporting site. And there is a problem with young males who get the vaccination or get the RMNH one, and that is the protein spikes, and it has caused heart issues and blood clots. This is not something you don't mess with a child's health without the consent of the parents. And it's not even, I mean, they deliberately orchestrated this. They bribed them with pizza, so they know what they're doing is absolutely illegal and wrong. It's not like, well, we're doing everybody a favor. We're going to vaccinate kids for the parents. No, they knew what they were doing. They instructed these children to keep it quiet, not to share, or they would get in trouble. They would get in trouble. So kids, 13-year-old kids, don't want to get in trouble, right? Your life consists of getting in trouble and not getting in trouble.
Right.
That's what it about consists of.
Well,
and you throw some pizza at them, and it's fine to them.
Well, the other thing is, at that age, you also start rebelling against your parents. So if your parents didn't want to get it, then that's what I'm saying. Maybe it is. But in other words, the child is not mature enough to make a decision, okay? And the teachers realistically should be fired. This school should be closed down for what it's, doing. The other thing is you bring up the side effects to young males. Realistically, it's been proven, and Fauci never wants, the only science he follows is the quack science, or whatever science he thinks of. There's no reason why to vaccinate children at 5 years of age. All right.
They're not following the science at all on this.
They're not, because there's a lot of science out there. And I talked about the study in Sweden with over 1 million students, and not one died from the virus. In other words, from what I've been reading, all right, maybe I'm not reading the right stuff, or what Fauci or Biden's reading, it's a very mild case with younger people. And I'm not saying they can't die. Don't get me wrong. I am not a doctor, all right? But from what I've been reading, and I'm trying to read as much as I can so I can understand this virus and what it might do at my age, to my body, or what the vaccine is going to do, okay? And that's what I'm saying. We're not getting all the information out there.
Yeah.
And we never hear, I'm just starting to hear now, we've been talking about it for a long time. I'm just hearing now about natural immunity on, the newscast, mostly from Fox. But even at the beginning, they didn't even talk about natural immunity. Now they're bringing that into the equation. There's also people that are talking about other forms, of ivermectin, and there's a few other ones that are out there.
Monoclonal.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, I just want to make sure when I talk about VAERS, it's VAERS. It's the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. And you can go there to find out and what the effects have been, because you're not going to see legacy media talk about the negative effects in situations of people who have died after vaccination or the medical issues they've had after vaccination, which should just be part of the conversation. Not say, and again, you can be okay with vaccination, be pro-vax, but anti-mandate.
Right.
But you had Merriam-Webster changed the definition from anti-vax to mean against vaccination to also being against mandates. Talk about your Orwellian move there, folks. I mean, in real time, you see this Orwellian stuff going on. So anyway, there's HHS.gov. It's Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. And as far as natural immunity, this goes back to, Mike, where they change the goalpost all the time, right? Because it's not about following the science, because if they followed the science, we wouldn't be having the issues that we're having in the sense of the mandates and masking, because the science says it's not required all the time. 508-871-7000. Did you want to say how you got to go to the phones?
Yeah. I just wanted to say one thing. In the studies I've been reading, the virus does not spread outside. The virus doesn't, unless you're face to face with somebody and spitting. That virus does not survive outside. So this masking, sometimes you watch Biden walk out, he's got his mask on. Other times he doesn't have it on. Right. So I don't know, but realistically, it does not spread outside.
Mike, we have tons of video of people or these left politicians totally unmasked, right? You get them on the cell phone camera, and when they're going to go out they put the mask on to walk 18 feet to the podium, and then they take them. It's absolutely asinine. You have AOC on the steps of the Capitol with this crowd of people shoulder to shoulder sitting there without the mask. Nobody has a mask on. And they said, we're going to take a picture. Oh, okay. Everybody put their mask on. That's ridiculous, folks. Right. So we know that it's all a facade. It's all about the power. 508-871-7000. Let me jump the phones. Sorry for delaying and getting to the phones real quick. We go to Ken first. He's been waiting the longest. Good morning, Ken. Thanks for holding on, man. We've got a few minutes.
Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Joe and Mike. Let me clear my throat. And hello again, Patriots.
Hello again, Patriots. We got shame and fame today, right?
That we do.
All right. We're going to
pick up from yesterday's discussion. Pretty obvious who the Hall of Shame should be. Rachel Rollins.
Oh, wow. Yeah. The fact that she made it through.
Information.
Say again?
I have some additional information.
Sure, go ahead.
I would suggest you, Mike, and your listeners check in on Rumble, Fearless, with Jason Whitlock. He does a job on Rachel Rollins that opens your eyes.
All right.
From a perspective of a Black American, of what this is all about, as far as her attitude. And by all means, you have to catch the Fox 25 television attempt to interview her, where she goes maniacal. She is so nasty. We have to take her as an albatross, put it around the neck of liberals, and turn it into an anvil, because she's a disgrace.
Well, what I was going to say is most liberals are angry at everything, no matter what you do. If you don't agree with them, they're very angry. That, I think, is normal. I think that's a trait. Well, look at Nancy Pelosi. Look at any of the, what I'm going to say, the top liberals, in other words, in government.
Yeah.
Every one of them is very nasty. Okay. Look how they treated Trump. Every one of them. Every news anchor.
Oh, no. Didn't you read the media is treating Joe Biden worse than Donald Trump? That's the spin we're getting now, folks. And they have the data to back it up, because they had somebody count adjectives for 9 months. So this is just ridiculous. Ridiculous. There hasn't been that kind of treatment to a president, I think, ever. Or at least in modern time there was. And it all had to do with that they decided that Orange Man was bad and evil in the destruction of democracy as we know it. And therefore, that is a license to do whatever you need to do to stop this man. And that if that means breaking the law or doing things that are totally outside of decorum and norm, that's fine because it's a greater evil. And I think it's disgusting when they would equate and use terms like Nazi, because that's insulting to millions of Jews, to the Holocaust. It's just, get a clue. I mean, they were so that's where the whole Trump derangement syndrome, and it's a real thing, folks. I mean, there are people in my own family that you mentioned Trump, and they change. They change, and it's not based on anything. Anyway, Ken, so Rachel, and what about fame?
Now, this is going to surprise the two of you and your listeners. Trevor Noah.
Okay.
The comedian from South Africa.
Yeah.
Who's certainly not on our side.
Yeah. Trevor Noah, he's the guy. What's the show he took over? What late night thing?
Yeah, TNT, I think.
Whatever it is. Yeah. With the full disclosure here, I've never watched his entire show. I've never been able to sit through it. I don't like the guy. I don't like his attitude. So why would he be in fame?
Well, this week, it sort of hit home the consequences of the far left, him being a far leftist himself. And he's questioning, as a South African, hey, wait a minute, why are we getting hit with this travel ban? And he's putting two and two together that this is maybe just, big pharma.
It has to come into your house for you to see, that's a typical left thing, right? And we can extrapolate from that, Ken, when it comes to defunding the police in the spike in crime, because most of these people who are okay with it, including the politicians who are using taxpayer money at the tune of around $7,500 a day for private security, most of these people live in gated communities or high-rise buildings with security and doormen, et cetera. You know where I'm going with this. So that doesn't really affect them. And who are the real victims of defunding the police? It's actually the inner city. In these stores, whether it's Walgreens or CVS or whatever, that are closing stores. I'm not talking a couple here. We're talking dozens and some of them hundreds of stores nationwide. Where are they closing them? In the neighborhoods where the violence is taking place, and this isn't just, it is looting and it is orchestrated, organized crime, folks. That's where it's taking place. So now you have those people who are living in those areas. Now they don't have ready access to prescriptions, their pharmacists, or even to just over-the-counter things that, you go down the street and you grab milk, eggs, bread, deodorant, shampoo. I don't care what it is. You've taken that out of there for these people, and that's who's suffering for it. But they don't care. They don't care. So now you're saying that Trevor Noah is all of a sudden, because South Africa, his hometown, has been, and I don't care how you slice it. This was absolutely out of line when Donald Trump put in travel bans, but Joe Biden, it's perfectly okay, and the science doesn't support it either, right? Because you got the scientists out of South Africa going, "Whoa, wait a minute! Not even that anybody died from this variant. Nobody's even been hospitalized." And we've talked about this, right? This Omicron is actually a good thing in the sense that it is much more catchy, right? It will travel through the population easier, but it's not as potent. So that means everybody's going to get it without having a severe reaction, and then get up natural immunity through the antibody because they got the Omicron. So this is nature's way of trying to herd immunity the planet and vaccinate the planet, in essence.
I was going to mention the same thing.
It's been called a natural vaccine.
There you go.
Yes, right there.
So literally those who haven't gotten vaccinated will be saved the easy way.
Yeah,
right.
The way this is shaping up.
Absolutely.
But effectively, Trevor Noah has been red pilled. And that's how we convert people.
Well, and everybody who is on the left, right, and they've become a little more conservative, or what I call common sense people, is usually because they've sat through a debate, right? Because the left isn't very tolerant about sitting through a debate. They don't want a debate. If you don't agree with them, you need to be silenced and not even have the debate. That's why they get them. They don't allow them on college campuses. They don't allow them to have shows. They don't want them to have a platform because they might actually red pill somebody. is that. And we just thought, Richard, we were going to go to you, Richard. You can call back after 7 o'clock and pick you up. So anyway, Ken, anything else before we let you go? We're coming up against the clock.
Oh, Omicron, we love your symptoms, which are so weak.
There you go. That's it. That's from the TGA orchestra. Thank you. Ken, good job. All right, folks, we're going to take a break here in a minute. And when we come back on the other side of 7 o'clock, conservatively speaking, with Mike Wade, who's already in studio with us, as well as Teddy. Don't forget, we are live streaming on the TuneIn app. You can also go to the WCRN webpage, and I have been broadcasting on multiple platforms for video streaming. That will end at 7 o'clock, though. It really has to do with copyright. They remove it, Mike, because of the bumper music is what it comes down to. All right, folks, where are we in time? We're good to go? All right, thank you very much, Matt, for flying the board. You're going to continue in with me until noon. And Mike Wade's up next and Peter Blute. So check it out. We'll be back on the other side.